I'm Debbie.
And I'm Allison.
And we're the Poltergals. Spooky.
Hi, I'm Allison.
And I'm Debbie.
And we're
The Poltergals.
So on this special episode, we have two lovely polter pals. Please introduce yourselves and then also the podcast you'll have on the network as well.
Woo.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm Cindy Little, and our podcast is Idiotic Ideologies.
Ooh.
And I'm Joshua Fernandez. Yes.
Yeah. So, like y'all said, you have idiotic ideologies. Like, kind of what's that about? Give us a little bit of insight on that one just to see if that'll pull an interest.
I'll let Josh field that one.
I just know I go hard in it. I mean, as far as
He
you know,
does.
humans and just being smart, what it means to be smart, logical about your decisions. If something hurts something or if something's immoral, what are you doing to say this is a quality that I want to obtain? You know, it's usually centered around love, and to just how do you take on these qualities of a human being and get rid of fear and get rid of, you know, so it's kind of right up the alley of this, especially with fear and the unknown and the dead. And so with my part, I'm like, well, how do you overcome that? How are you not scared of that? And how do we find religion in that at its most pure form?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yes.
Cool. So, like you said, that's kind of fits up our alley. At least it kind of conjoins.
So I'm the doubter. I'm the demon hunter. I'm like, put me in a haunted house or
He's
call
the skeptical
Lucifer's
one.
name
Skeptic.
and I will defeat the demon.
Ooh.
He's scared. Yeah.
I will
But
defeat
she's
the
like,
demon. I'm going to get you a shirt that
played
says
with
that
nothing
right across
serious
it.
yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can we please have
No
that?
comment.
And what's your perspective, Cindy?
Yeah.
My perspective, I've been a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter for about 14 years now, and I'm also a parapsychological researcher. So, you know, I do the kind of the geeky academic stuff as well as the fun ghost hunting stuff. And I just really kind of my way of approaching it is just through exploration. I just like to kind of see what's there and document it and hopefully eventually kind of figure out what's going on.
Yeah. So how does a skeptic and a ghost hunter come to start a podcast together?
Yeah.
Well, I think I approach it as I don't know. You know, a lot of people that are skeptics can just give a conclusion and write something off, but to say there's something I don't know about. I want to explore that, and luckily I got her, so I just explore it. And I don't go into it with an opinion. There's apparently something that you can't explain there, and with me, I tend to my brain goes to more of a physics side and you know, particles and electromagnetic waves and just concentrations of energy of that kind of thing. And yeah, Cindy's definitely more everything. I don't know. Cindy's just open minded to it all.
Yeah.
All
Pause.
right.
It's in my wallet. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, no problem. No, Josh. Yeah, Josh and I got to talking about it. We've been friends for a while now, and showed an interest in it because, you know, I told him, I said, "Oh yeah, I do ghost hunting," and he's like, "Oh, that's really interesting." And yeah, he's kind of more.
It's another way to study people. Like what's
yeah.
going on with the brain? You know that.
Yeah.
Create, and maybe can it create stuff? You know, we're talking with her. I
Yeah.
can say I don't know. Our power of mind.
Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead.
The powers of
Don't get ahead.
exploration.
Yeah. So I explore, do a lot of observation, a lot of data collection. I approach it kind of from a
very analytical.
scientific, analytical point of view. And Josh says, "Oh yeah, that sounds really interesting." And so he comes on investigations with me now.
That's cool.
And so yeah, thankfully we haven't run into anything demonic.
I'm doing my job.
Not yet.
He's not calling these things out.
Yeah.
But so yes, it is a lot of fun. It's really interesting. It incorporates so many things. It incorporates, you know, critical thought, fun technology, really strange experiences, history, being able to go into these like really cool places that are rumored to be haunted and experiencing just crazy stuff. So you know, I love it. It's just really a lot of fun.
So when you do go out on investigations, what do you take into consideration as far as what's causing that haunt? Like I know that we had talked a little bit about like people, right time, right place, history. Do you take that into consideration when walking into an investigation, or do you just try to clean slate it all and whatever happens?
I have friends that are psychics, and they like to go in cold like that. They call it, we're just going to go in cold. I don't know anything about it. I'm just going to go in and see what I see. I'm just the opposite, because if I want to collect data and observe, I want to make sure that my equipment's set up in the right way. I'm asking the right kind of questions, and trying to figure out, like you said, what could be causing this activity, whatever it is. And I mean, seriously, that is the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Is we really don't have a handle on it yet. And right now, like I was saying earlier, yes, best I can determine there's some kind of energy interplay between the right person or right people in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So how that all comes together into ghosts and poltergeists and things, I'm not exactly sure. Nobody is, but there's lots of people out there trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I'm sure kind of like Josh is starting to figure out like the difference in residual energy, poltergeist. If you don't mind just kind of touching on that, because we
talk about that a lot, like the
kind of
differences.
talk about it, but we don't go in depth about the differences. So like most people probably won't know what the difference of a poltergeist or a residual energy compared to demonic energy compared to an intelligent spirit. So a lot of people don't have that understanding. So if you don't mind just kind of touching up on that.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah. There's general categories of paranormal activity. And they oftentimes intersect and overlap. I mean, rarely do you go into a haunted place and just see a ghost, or what we call an apparition, without any of these other things going on. So the three general categories are apparitions or intelligent haunts, residual energy or place memory, and poltergeist activity. And so apparitions or intelligent haunts are exactly what everybody thinks of when they think of a ghost. They think of, here comes this kind of transparent figure, but a lot of times they're not transparent. A lot of times they look just like people only, and they think, others think they're people until they do non-people things like walk through a wall or something or disappear. And they interact with the living. So they can talk to living people, or they'll, recognize you just by looking at you or touch you or something along those lines. So any kind of interaction, that's what we call an apparitional or an intelligent haunt. Place memory or residual haunts, like you were mentioning, are kind of like your DVD player at home. So somehow some event got trapped in this environment. We don't exactly know how this energy got trapped there, but if the conditions are right, it will play back. And they don't interact. It's just like watching a movie. So that is a residual haunt. And it doesn't only have to be seen like a ghostly figure, walking across a stage at a haunted theater, for example. Every Tuesday, Fred the ghost walks across the stage, blah, blah, blah. It can be footsteps. It can be voices. It can be smells. Smells are like super common. Phantom reoccurring
cigarette smoke,
cigar smoke,
perfume. Yeah.
Yes. So that reoccur. There's no interaction. Sounds are really common. So that's a residual, or we call place memory. Poltergeist activity is just like you see in the movies, where it's stuff moving around, knocks, bangs, objects levitating, objects that will like transport. We call it translocation, where, you say you're sitting and you got your TV remote next to you, and then you look over and it disappears, and lo and behold, you go and find it on top of the refrigerator in the kitchen. So things like that. So those are kind of the three general categories, but in most haunted places, all three of those things tend to be in play. So you really, it's really hard to kind of parse them out, I guess, and try to divide them up because they all kind of happen in the same place.
Yeah. So I know, like you said, Josh has been joining you on some of those investigations. How does that kind of like play out for y'all? Like, because I know obviously he's more of the skeptic, like he said. So when you go into it, do you go into it just like, okay, this is that thing? Do you sometimes try to use him being a skeptic to trigger certain things to happen to see if it'll trigger? Or just kind of like, oh, we don't play, that's a little too dirty play for y'all?
You know, here's the funny thing. Josh hasn't been on too many investigations with me. You know, he says he's Mr. Skeptic, and I totally believe that, but he's open to experiences. But I think he's actually a little more sensitive to activity than I am. I am not very sensitive at all, but I mean, he's able to, what I've seen so far, actually pick up on energies in places. And so that is going to, whether he chooses to use it or not, that is going to actually come in very handy. But I'll let him answer.
That's a good kind of
there.
Perception thing. Since you mentioned that, which there's no conclusion or doubt, but there is always this kind of feeling energies. I tend to see it as your mind just wandering, or your mind getting to you. You know, just for an example, like a dark room. Pitch black, but another pitch black room doesn't scare you. But for some reason, this pitch black room, you just takes a little extra effort to get in there. To me, I'm telling myself it's just my mind. But it's funny to me that it won't happen anywhere else. But for some reason, that room, so it's worth the observation to take note of it. But still, I would still go to that thing of, I'm not going to allow this to inhibit me from moving forward or from doing something, and to just be calm in the face of whatever's coming, kind of
whatever's coming.
Yeah. And you've been doing this for 14 years. So how did you even get started in this?
Oh man, I've always had an interest in it. And it started when I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I got this book out of the library that was real ghost stories. And I thought that was really intriguing. You know, I thought, oh man, real ghost stories, not just, stories. And this one, it just captured my attention. It was about Jeff, GEF, and you can look this up on the internet. It was a really super famous case in Britain years, like back in the 1930s. Jeff the talking mongoose. And they actually, in the
house.
know.
Yeah, I've heard this
You've
one.
heard of Jeff?
Yes.
Yes, he's famous.
Very
it was
famous.
this family that lived in the country in Britain. I'm not exactly sure where. And they swore they had a talking mongoose living in the walls of their home.
And the little girl could like talk to him and like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Voorhees. Yeah. And it would sing songs to them. It would follow them if they would like walk down the driveway. It would talk to them. It had a really dirty mouth and would cuss. And so I was just, oh my gosh, I was just fascinated. That just hooked me. And to this day, there's still no consensus on what was going on there. Something crazy was going on there.
Yeah, and they had like their neighbors and guests that would come to the house, and they would get entertained by the mongoose. And they've even done investigations as to a lot of people believe that the daughter was doing some sort of ventriloquism and like throwing her voice. They looked for like speakers, but obviously that wasn't like a thing. But they were looking for some sort of voice box. And it's just a very interesting case. So it's very.
So that hooked me, and then from there on, I've just always had an interest in it. And then, of course, fast forward many years, and then all the ghost hunting shows came on because I thought, well, this would be fun to investigate, but I don't know what to use or even where to start. And that's kind of like where I saw, oh, this is the instruments that they use. And then from there, I just continued my studies and started investigating. And so here I am today.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I would like to ask Josh the same question, but before we do, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Spooky.
Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey y'all, I'm April,
Hi, I'm Caroline.
and we have a new podcast for you. What's it called, Caroline?
Bloody Happy Hour.
It's going to be your new favorite guilty pleasure. We're going to talk about some bloody stuff. Serial killers, true crime,
Rape.
rapists. Why not join us? We'll have a good time.
You literally never know. I don't know what I'm going to say. Bloody Happy Hour. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that one-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that one-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On One Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a one-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Spooky. All right, so we're back, and we just finished up what got Sydney interested in the paranormal. So I'd like to ask you the same question, Josh, especially since you're a skeptic. And last week, which should be dropped tomorrow, Brad Turner, he's kind of a skeptic. He stated that he
doesn't care if they're true or false.
Doesn't care, doesn't have any interest in.
He's more of a recorder rather than
folklore. He's really into the haunted folklore.
So he loves the goat man. That's all you need to know.
Goat man's his thing.
Goat man's his thing.
But he said that he wasn't really interested in like seeking out, going after any of that. So for someone that's another skeptic, what kind of got you interested in wanting to at least go after it and pursue it?
And actually explore it.
Yeah.
I guess it goes back to that whole conquering thing of what's really out there. and then just to see, it's amazing how, somebody can have a testimony about it, but there's just, where's the consistency and where's the, everything just seems like it doesn't really link together.
Mm-hmm.
There's not, and if you have one person notice it, there's just so much doubt within it. But I mean, bottom line was just the conquering of, even if these are demons or some kind of multidimensional thing or whatever it is, that the fact that you're alive, the more fear you have towards it, the weaker it's going to make you, so to speak. So when there's the opportunity to check it out, well, first of all, it's just I want to have an opinion about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why people have opinion about things that they have no experience about. You watch it, oh wow, no, but are you doing it? So now that I'm doing it, I can have a little bit of a conversation about it, and it's great to have a conversation about it because stuff's important. This is, I would argue about why it has such a profound effect on people, but it's apparent that it's uncertainty, it's the unknown, you're wondering if there's a heaven and this and that. So it's good to be able to at least talk to people about it, and then that way I have more understanding when I go into these conversations about helping somebody through something fearful or whatever is causing them to not get their life together, think that their life's not the best. So
yeah. So I know that a lot of the time, especially when you're doing like a house call, so to speak, if you're trying to help them on how to handle the situation, like you're talking about how to not give in to that fear, and this is something that kind of what y'all talk about, religion and how people view that, how different. So what kind of like helps you with that? Because some people are very faith-based, whereas they're like, oh, God's gonna handle this, God's got it, you gotta give it to God. Whereas some people, like if you look at the Native Americans, they'll go in and have their people bless you, bless the house. So, and your expertise, what do you think about all that?
Wow.
I guess protection from like the
or
kind of even just not having fear, right?
Yeah, the fear, because like different people believe in protection, how to handle the situation, and that's gonna vary from what y'all talk about on y'all show, the religion aspect, the different people's mindset, the walk of life that they go through. So
I think, at least in my experience, what I've found is education is really probably the key to helping people become less fearful. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And like, I think Josh touched on an important point too, about you want to try and alleviate people's fear. And that's something I always ask if there's people involved, is what's your fear level, basically, how scared are you? And I try my best off the bat to reassure them that, 99.9% of these cases, there is nothing to fear. I know it's spooky. I know it's weird. We can't really explain what's going on, but I really don't think you have, anything to worry about. I personally don't get involved too much faith-wise, and say, you need to do this ritual, or you need to say this prayer, or I really come at it from, I think this is something that's most likely natural, and it's just something we don't understand yet, and we'll try and figure it out. And, but if there's something that is evil or awful, then we'll walk down that path. But yeah, I know it's, and there again, it's just that is not really cut and dried, because yes, those two things start to intermingle very, very quickly, so it's a difficult path to walk sometimes, but I just try to educate them, and I try to give them control over the situation as much as possible. I used to do home visits. I don't do home visits anymore. And when I did, I would really try to step back and say, hey, why don't you try these things? Because I'm an outsider and you all are experiencing these things every day. So I'm going to give you some ideas on how to kind of handle this on your own, since you're in the home, and give you control over the situation. I remember one time there was a family, and this apparition kept showing up in the little boy's room. And he wasn't a little boy. I'd say he was probably about 11 or 12. So I just lent him one of my cameras. And I said, anything strange going on? He goes, you're my ghost hunter now. You're my ghost hunter. You know, I need you to video it so you can be brave. You can do this. And that's really all it took. And I mean, he was hilarious. I mean, I got these videos back. He's like, this is Duncan. It is now midnight. And I heard a strange noise. Let's go investigate.
That's
you know, and it was great. And it kind of helped give a little bit of control over the situation. And we're finding that in a lot of, at least like the poltergeist cases, the energy feeds on fear. And so if you can bring those fear levels down, a lot of time the activity will calm down or go away altogether.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So, you really just aimed for that fear factor to be maintained by the household or whoever is at that location. I know that like some of the stuff that I watched, it's like Dead Files is one of the shows I thoroughly enjoy to watch.
The potty-mouthed psychic.
Yeah, yeah. So
no, it's a fun show to watch. It's a fun show to watch.
Yeah, I enjoy it partially because of I enjoy the paranormal side. I got my dad into it because my dad's very much like Josh, very much skeptic. He's retired Waco police officer.
Oh wow.
So he thoroughly enjoyed it, but even he didn't understand when she's like, oh, well, you're going to need to get a Reiki master to help with this. You're going to have to get a shaman to come in and do this. So that's why I was like, well, what does that kind of mean? Like when you get people like that from different religion groups, from different kind of like backgrounds to go in and cleanse a property or even cleanse a person. 'Cause I don't know how accurate it is if a spirit can cling onto a person, and what that kind of looks like as far as how that goes.
Yeah, and you bring up some really good points. We're getting ready to go to an investigation here pretty soon at a local business, and we, just at the very basic level, one of the very first things I tell people is to, and this gives them something to do, is to sage. You do a smudging, you do saging. And that literally cleans the air. I mean, like physically cleans the air. There have been some studies done on that. And so I figure kind of the thinking behind it, it's been used in a lot of rituals. It smells really good. And it cleans the air. Maybe it'll affect the energy in a place. I don't know for certain. But you figure, it's not going to hurt. But even doing a simple ritual like this, after our first visit to this place, I thought all was well. And so they decided that they were going to sage. They saged this past weekend, and they got back to me and Josh, and they said it got worse.
Oh, goodness.
So even just this one little ritual, they said, things have kicked up even worse. So now it's like, oh boy, okay, now we're going to have to go back and see what else we can figure out. So yeah, you make a really good point that, yeah, I've seen that show, and yeah, she usually has a laundry list of things that they need to do. And I mean, I don't know that's going to make things better. I think that there's a much higher possibility that it could stir things up and make things worse. So you just got to be really careful. So
I got a little story about that. You mentioned what it looks like when spirits attach to you. And of course, we know the regular stuff, and Cindy probably has her thoughts on that. But I have one story that was kind of unknown as far as a ghost experience with me. Oh, I say ghost, but what would you call it? It was just somebody was messing with. Let me just tell the story. Waverly Hills. You've heard of Waverly Hills Sanatorium?
Yes.
Or sanitation, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's a sanatorium. Yeah.
Okay. So they have haunted houses there, and they have tours. It's awesome during the month of October. we go every year pretty much. And so we went to the haunted house this year. I used to live in Lexington, Kentucky, and where this place is at, it's about a 2-hour drive, but I know nobody that works there. I don't know who would work there. It would just be a coincidence if someone did. But while I was in the haunted house, they tell you, if somebody's messing with you, it's not the actors, it's the spirits. And when I went in there, there was a guy at one point started biting my back, like just being up close and biting my back. Mm-hmm. And then I could swear, there's sound going on, but I could hear him saying, "Run, Joshy, run, Joshy," calling me Joshy. Oh. And I wanted to turn around and say, "I got you," like what the hell's going on? What are you saying right now? Because this is where people start to get crazy and say, "Oh, I had an experience." But you have a thought, and the thought says, "Don't ruin the experience. Just keep walking." And to me, that's when you give thought such power, it's easy to be manipulated. So if you want to make a decision to just make it, and that's just me preaching. But what I was saying is, it was just odd that that in that moment something just took me over, so to speak. It was a thought, but that thought it turned the other cheek, and it just left it a mystery now. But I'm very set on that was. Mm-hmm. I could swear. What else could he be saying?
Yeah, that was creepy.
Are there any other?
And I had my ex-girlfriend with me, but I don't know if she's really paying attention like that. But so that's why it's so important to me to talk to people about your thoughts and how you let them control you. Just realize a thought is a thought. You put it in its place. Yeah. But don't let it make decisions for you or tell you, make assumptions and opinions. This is where all this stuff comes from. And to me, that's what the spirit looks like. How many people are actually possessed walking around this? How many of us are possessed at this moment? The devil is the greatest manipulator ever. You're not going to know if you're possessed, so to speak. But yeah, that was just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Are there any other experiences that have really become touchstones for most of your investigations or now your practice moving forward?
You got to mention it.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not. It's been found that people that have more psychic sensitivities, tend to have more experiences. And it's not just because they're biased toward it. For some reason, they just seem to actually have more genuine experiences. And so I am not psychically sensitive. I'm like the complete opposite. And so I'd been investigating for about 10 years. And I was at the Palace Theater in Marlin, which is just haunted, pretty actively haunted. And we do, it was my first time there, and I was on a tour / kind of ghost hunt thing for the public. Now I'm part of this. We do these, we're getting set to do another one hopefully this summer called Paranormal University, where we invite the public in and we teach them how to ghost hunt the theater. Well, I was a guest at that time. And so, I had my little meter with me. I always carry my little EMF meter to check out electrical fields. And so we were down in the basement and it was really kind of dim, but you could see. I mean, you could still see. And so I was looking at my little meter and I was looking at the guests and stuff. And so I see this guest over in the corner, this man, and then I see another man standing behind him. And I'm thinking, oh, it's just another guest, And so then I watched that other man step out from behind the first guy. And he was, just a normal looking guy. He had a light shirt on, dark pants, dark hair, medium build. And I just thought, okay, it's just one of the guests.
Was he cute?
Was he cute? Oh, he was so hot. Yeah. Anyway, he was spicy up in there. And so anyway, so this man comes walking towards me, and I'm thinking it's just another guest, but then he gets about, to the side of me and he disappears.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, he just like flat out disappears. And I'm like, holy crap, that was a ghost. I actually saw my first ghost. And of course, this is like after 10 years of investigating. But I was like pretty excited. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, I've seen a ghost. I saw a ghost. He just disappeared, And so that was,
I promise he was there.
I promise. Yeah, now I knew how all those other people felt, that just like, no, really, I saw this.
The one time I don't have my camera.
Yeah, it's like, well, I didn't have my camera. Yeah. But, so that was like really cool. I thought that was great. And I've had other, kind of more ambiguous type experiences here and there, hearing strange noises, the smells, the, stuff like that. But so far, and I mean, I haven't seen anything like that since. So, which kind of brings me to the point that the TV shows really have kind of done a disservice to, is that genuine paranormal experience experiences are rare.
Mm-hmm.
They don't happen like the TV shows show that they happen.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, every week we're going to have
Mm-hmm.
a ghost on the show. You know,
Yeah.
it just is really rare. And so I talk to people often about what I do, and they're usually very interested in it. And when I tell them, I go, it's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, you can come on a ghost hunt or one of our paranormal universities or whatever, but it's a lot more like fishing,
Mm-hmm.
and
Lots sitting and waiting.
lots of sitting.
You said it, the
and
experience of
waiting.
just sitting in a nice place, or like the Marlin Theater is beautiful, so it's just cool to be in it. Or
Yeah.
Cameron Park, just hanging out in Cameron Park, and like,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
you might see a ghost. I don't know.
You might get bonus,
Yeah.
you know, because, and so, you know, because yes, it's a lot of sitting and waiting. And if you're somebody who has a quieter, more observant disposition,
So not me.
yeah, well, yeah, I was gonna say, then you're most likely going to probably enjoy it more
Mhm.
because you can, like, exactly like what Josh said, you know, and Josh is a little more like that. He's a little more quieter, calmer disposition. And so I just find that people that are like that tend to really enjoy it more. And not only that, but they're more likely to get, you know, ghost sightings because they're putting themselves in the position of being quiet, being observant, being open to it. But yeah, if you're a little more ADHD, and, you know, no offense against people who have ADHD, but if you're a little more,
Nothing's happening, I'm ready to
nothing's
go.
happening.
Yeah.
I'm ready, exactly. Nothing's happening. You
Go
know,
get some food.
let's
Yeah.
let's go get something to eat. Then that's great. I
Yeah.
mean, good for you. I mean, this may just not be something that you're interested in, and you're going to get bored really, really fast. So I guess that's a long way around. There's a whole lot of nothing
Yeah.
that goes on.
And I've heard that the experience is very meditative overall. And it's very much about like that introspection. It's about the meditation, the repetition. And it's more of, you know, again, a self-practice, even in the aspect of ghost hunting. And, you know, you spoke on it. You know, we all have our preset biases. We all have those thoughts in our head that can get overtaken. And so it
Those are
really
the
just
demons
takes
trying to
that.
kick you out of there. They
Yeah.
don't want you, man. So, who knows? You gotta fight it. Fight the thoughts.
Josh and his demons. That's what
He's ready. He's looking
ready. So I need to get him some stakes and crucifixes or something.
So have you guys had any other negative experiences or anything you guys would like to share?
I forgot to tell him that time that poster board. I had a poster board. It's a thick one. It's a piece of wood, and I had a thing in front of it, this money jar in front of it, just holding it up. So it's against the wall and it's being propped up at an angle with the money jar. And in the middle of the night, the whole thing just flips over.
Oh my gosh.
Like, 'cause it didn't slide the money jar off, so it flipped over. And I just kind of lifted my head up and I just said something like, "Leave me alone." I went back to sleep.
You were like,
'cause-
I'm not dealing with you right now.
I haven't even heard that one.
I think I told you once
Oh.
real quick, and then it was just a
my
quick thing.
gosh.
I think I told you, yeah.
You heard it here first.
It happened.
Wow.
that was more big when I was kind of, I don't know, I just first discovered kind of demon hunting, and I was just a little bit more, I guess, thoughtful of it.
Yeah.
Now I don't think so much about it now, but before it's like, screw these demons, and a little more talkative about it. and
Okay,
stuff.
you're right.
Yeah. I guess I was more excited about.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Okay. Anyway, no, I haven't had anything negative happen
Oh wow.
yet, and I hope to keep it that way.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes with our episodes, we get very caught up in like, this is a dark place. This is negative energy on negative energy, feeding into negative energy. But then there are some episodes where we're just like, this one's more lighthearted, obviously.
And I'm curious
There's
on
nothing
that.
bad.
To me, it's a win-win, because if something like that happens, that would have such a profound effect on. I mean,
Yeah.
especially if we were to somehow single out this as a demonic thing, then it's like, oh shit. Well, then there's definitely a world outside of this. I'm free, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the proof right there. I experienced it, and so nothing's gonna shake me, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of funny when you get into those dark, like more like colored, saturated places. Like I think one of them was Pavoglia.
Yeah, Pavolia.
Yeah.
It was like an island off the coast of Italy that they actually sent all of their sick to. And so,
heard of
and the
this
island's like
place.
divided by a river, and half of it was graveyard, half of it was the infirmary. And then it was used as like a prison, and then it was used again during the next pandemic. And then it was just like layers upon layers of history of trauma. And so we talk a lot about the traumas like adding on top of each other, those negative energies building on top of each other. But it's very rare, you know, sometimes we'll just have episodes where we're like, we've been talking about a lot of deep stuff, so let's just talk about this little haunting.
Fun
Yeah, let's talk about this light one. They don't do anything bad, maybe just a few little taps on your shoulder. It's good.
I think
talking mongoose.
Yeah, talking mongoose.
we need to do that one.
Yeah.
You guys need to do Jeff.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's been kind of, you know, interesting going through that because, like I said, we've never. It's interesting getting more of like a professional experience, how it's done, getting insight from Josh as a skeptic and stuff like that because. We don't do that. We just, that's like, here's
we
the
just tell the stories.
We're like, slap, here's the history, here's the hauntings.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When our next Paranormal University comes up, you got to come out to Marlin to the Palace Theater and come to one of our Paranormal Universities.
Yeah. And you're actually doing classes at MCC right now, right?
Yes.
So you're
had
doing
my
for
last
your
class this past week. Yes, I do a class on paranormal investigating in the fall and a class on Waco haunts,
and that's through the continued education
spring.
program. Yeah.
Yes, through MCC's continuing education program.
And being with her, and then even my buddy doing ghost huntings, you can't deny that there's something making the EMF reader go off and things like that. And Bruceville Eddy Cemetery's got a pretty. I want to take her. It's got a pretty active place. That's always the EMF reader always goes off. And being with her now, I look around for electric signals and make sure what's going on. But so yeah, you say skeptic, and then in my head I'm like, am I actually a skeptic? I mean, I know something's happening. I'm not gonna say nothing. And then we talked about physics. I'll mention this real quick, but you know, I forget the name of the particle, but you have billions of these going through your body. And just imagine there's something like the Bermuda Triangle where there's just little pockets of these particles in these energies. And but then again, you got to consider the mind and how powerful it becomes when people start to experience these things. Like she said, there's certain people get into a room and then there's energies just happen. So, you know, I'm just considering all this. Not making a conclusion, but there's something there. There's something happening.
And, you know, that's what a truly skeptical person is. I mean, skeptics are people that, if you're genuinely a skeptic, that means that you're open to, you know, having your mind changed.
Blown.
Yeah. Or blown.
That's what I'm with her for. I want
And
my
even
mom
just
blown.
telling your experiences, you know, it's showing that you're open to this. And it's not just like shutting it down.
In general, you know, when we have our conclusions or we say you're wrong and then you're dumb, like, that's just weird to me. So having her, that was a good opportunity to face, you know, just seeing when I was younger and how the attitude that you have as a young kid, and then just being older now, I don't know what you call it, but to just, you're open-minded, what it really means to be open-minded and to make new discoveries and to contribute as a human being and not just as your petty, you know, worries and you're arguing, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I appreciate y'all's insight on this and everything you guys have brought to this conversation.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, you're very welcome.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can talk your ear off.
We can talk forever.
Yeah. I love
Is there
this
anything
stuff.
else you guys would like to leave our listeners with today?
You know, if you're interested in this, get out there. Give it a, you know, go to some of these haunted locations, go to some of the ghost tours, you know, and just see what it's all about and see what you think. It's just a really fascinating field of study.
Yeah.
And so, and you do it long enough and you put yourself in these situations long enough, you're going to see some weird crap.
And that's what we're here for.
Yeah. You really will.
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
All right.
And I guess before we leave, just make it a little fun. What do you think about I guess it's a question of seeing. We haven't really talked about it, but man, what gets me also fascinated into this stuff, and this is just more of entertainment, but like a Stephen King and H.P. Lovecraft and the universes of Cthulhu and just these monsters. And I guess your opinion would be more of how much would you buy into that? How much do you think? I mean, I guess and I know you're open to possibilities, but you know, that gets me really really into it. Even though it's scary and you know you're talking about going mad and crazy, but it makes the exploration a little more, some substance to it.
And I mean, I feel like there's like a lot of crossover between like the legends and superstitions and cryptids and what is it, the anomalies, like those are really popular right now, so finding the
like
anomalies
and
just stuff like that where it's like, oh, so that's interesting and it kind of can go into this or other dimensions or as I mentioned on the show before, fae or any other subgenre, subculture of the paranormal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
We live in a
it's been
strange
going.
and mysterious world.
There we go.
I guess that's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Humans make it strange, and
Yeah, we're strange and mysterious.
that's why I want to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
with
Well,
people.
thank you guys again so much for joining us today.
you.
Really appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah.
That was
Thanks for
fun.
having
Thank you.
Thank you. You've been listening to The Poltergals.
A Rogue Media Network podcast.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.